Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is the 29th part of What If Deku Can't Stop Adopting Kids. Hope you enjoy. Link to the original story and author in the description. Chapter 158, Filling the Ranks. Come on, run. Can you tell me what this special surprise is? In a black van cruising down the road, was one Ren Akira, hands on the wheel. Next to him was his younger sister, a young 19-year-old woman with long orange hair. Although you'd think she was younger given her height and attire. She wore an off-shoulder white top with a red splatter pattern on it, a pair of shorts that were a bit too short for Ren's and her father's liking, a light brown coat with a fluffy hood rim, a pair of black boots, as well as black glasses and headphones. This was Futaba Akira. Ren had a confident smirk and glint in his eyes that told Futaba that whatever this was, it was something big, and she was getting antsy with anticipation. No, where's the fun in that? Ren answered back cheekily. Just sit tight, we'll be there soon. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Midoriya Foundation?" Futaba asked as they sat right in front of the gates that lead to the Midoriya property. "You're not going to make me watch you work, are you? Because from the outside that's the same as watching you take a nap." "Not quite." Ren chuckled as the gates opened in front of them. "Just wait." The two drove into the forest, down the main road towards the Foundation main building. Futaba looked out the window as they drove, and saw a seer pass them by. So that's a grim beings made of negative thought made manifest. If only I could get my hands on one of those. I wonder if they're similar to the shadows in Ren's palaces but in the physical world. As Futaba was staring at the passing grim, they eventually made it to the Foundation building. Whoa! It looks even bigger in person, Futaba said as they arrived at the main gates, where Izuku was waiting for them. "Wait, is that Director Midoriya?" "That would be him," Ren replied, as he stopped the car in front of the gates. As he stopped, Izuku went towards the car, and much to Futaba's confusion he then entered the back seat of the car. "Hello, you must be Futaba Akira," Izuku said with a friendly smile. "I am Director Midoriya Izuku, head of the Midoriya Foundation. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm glad you agreed to this interview." "Interview?" Futaba's eyes went wide, and she quickly turned to look at her snickering brother. "Run! What the hell did you get me into?" Izuku gave her a confused look. "Wait, do you not know what's going on here?" "No. Ren just told me, to get in the car I have a surprise for you," Futaba explained frantically as she glared at Ren. "Ron, what the hell, you smug bastard." "I see." Izuku sighed, catching on to Ren's little prank, as they started to drive away from the main facility, and towards the lab. "Well then, please let me explain. I heard about you from Ren, and thought that a cognitive matter researcher would be a great help to my scientific branch." "Oh yeah, I almost forgot you opened one of those," Futaba recalled before her eyes went wide with realization. "Wait. Does that mean I might get the chance to study those grim? And actually, get a real job on top of that?" "Hell yeah." "Don't get too ahead of yourself, you still have to pass the interview," Ron reminded her. "Oh right. Wait, are we gonna do the interview in the car?" Futaba asked. Izuku shook his head. "No, the interview isn't with me, I'm just here to watch." And with that, they started coming up on the lab. Whoa! Futaba whistled when she saw the lab, amazed that she may have the opportunity to do her research there. They parked in front of the lab, and all three of them exited the car. "The person in charge of your interview will be the head of the scientific division," Izuku explained as they headed toward the lab. "She's a rather nice person, so don't feel too nervous." They opened the door and entered the reception hall, where they found Mai and Uchi speaking with two other men. The first was a rather plump old man with gray puffy hair and a huge bushy gray beard that obscured most of his face. He wore a white lab coat, a blue and white spotted tie, brown pants, and black shoes. The other man was seemingly much younger, with smooth black hair styled in a man bun coming out of his white hat, and a much smaller beard only covering his chin. He was very tan and very built, which was easy to see given as he didn't wear a shirt under his open lab coat, exposing his abs, and his gray shorts did little to hide his toned legs. All four of them immediately noticed Izuku's, Ren's, and Futaba's arrival, and turned to look at them. "Oh! Mr. Midoriya! It's good to see you. And you two must be Ren and Futaba." Mai greeted them. "Aloha." The tan man greeted them in an American accent. "Mr. Midoriya, it's a pleasure to meet you." The older man greeted. "Allow me to introduce myself. I am Dr. Kuenren Hikari, a specialist in robotics. And I'm Professor John Hatta. Just call me John. I'm a genetic engineer." The tan man introduced himself with a grin. "Nice to meet ya, boss." "It's my pleasure." Izuku gave them a polite bow. "I just came to see Ms. Futaba here off, and welcome you two of the Midoriya Foundation. I hope you all do good work and find the conditions manageable. And Ms. Futaba, I wish you good luck in your interview." And with that, Izuku took his leave, with Ren following behind him. "I'll be outside when you're done. Good luck." XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Sorry for all the commotion. We just got 2 new employees at the same time you showed up. Mai explained. I'm Myru Jiken, head of the Midoriya Foundation's scientific research branch. A pleasure to meet your acquaintance. Same, Futaba said before giving a nervous laugh. My name is Futaba Akira, specialist in cognitive matter research. At your service. You don't need to be nervous. We've looked over your resume, and we're very impressed with your work. Mai praised her. And given your relationship with Mr. Akira, we can be fairly certain you're not an assassin. Which is the most important thing really. Oh yeah, I guess with all those villains out for Midoriya's blood, finding people you can trust to just walk around your lawn must be pretty tough. Futaba sympathized. There was a time when she didn't let people in because of perceived danger, but this was a much more real and serious threat. Yes. So this is more for the sake of better getting to know you. Mai continued. Get her a better idea who I'm working with, you know. Yeah, I get it. Make total sense. Futaba agreed. She wasn't feeling any less nervous despite Mai's words, given what was at stake. She knew that finding people who finance cognitive matter research was difficult, to say the least. If this didn't work, she may not find another opportunity for her research to be funded, for a long, long time. If ever. And she doubted she'd get a chance as good as this ever again. Now, first of all, I know this may be a stupid question, but why exactly do you want to work at the Midoriya Foundation? Mai asked, typing something into her computer. Well, I'm real jazzed about the whole notion of having a job, and doing what I spent my entire life working up to, Futaba replied humorously, feeling a little more confident when she saw Mai chuckle at her response. Yeah, I figured, Mai said. So what made you want to study cognitive matter? It's a pretty rough field to study. One of the most difficult paths for any aspiring scientist to walk, and most that do, don't find any success. I'm curious what made you decide to pursue this. It's complicated. Futaba sighed, as her expression dropped into a frown, and she suddenly found it very hard to look Mai in the eye. My mom was a cognitive matter researcher and, can we just leave it at that? It's pretty personal. Of course. I get the gist. Mai said sympathetically. Now then, what do you want most out of this job? Fame? Fortune? Something to name after yourself? Or are you in it for the pure desire to discover more unfound secrets? Would you judge me if I said a little bit of everything? Futaba asked a bit sheepishly. Not at all, Mai responded brightly. I'm glad you're being honest. I appreciate you being yourself during this interview. Really helps the whole getting to know you part. Now, let's get to discussing the terms of employment, shall we? XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Meanwhile, Izuku and Ren were outside by the car, drinking some coffee. Thanks again for getting Futaba this job, I can't tell you how much appreciated, Ren said casually. Hopefully she'll be the one doing me a favor with her work, Izuku replied as he sipped his coffee. But either way, it's my pleasure to help where and when I can. It only took me one conversation and an hour of my life to help someone else in such a major way, I don't see why I had any reason not to. Part of me wishes people were more like you. Ren chuckled. But the other part of me knows that if that were the case, the human race may have died out long ago. Ha! Yeah, probably for the best. Izuku acknowledged. Although wish people could be a bit more kind. At the very least, so those kids wouldn't have had to suffer so much. Yeah, that would make both our jobs easier, huh? Ren mused. Either that or put us out of a job entirely. But honestly, I wouldn't mind. Same. Izuku agreed, taking another sip of his coffee. Speaking of jobs, you look like you're in better health. I see getting a secretary really improved things for you, Rin commented. You plan on hiring any more personnel anytime soon? Kinda have to. I'm only gonna get more kids, which means more work. Izuku explained. You wouldn't happen to have any more talented friends looking for work, would you? Particularly as a cook or teacher? Ren shook his head and laughed. No. Definitely not. I'm the only member of my group who can cook at all, and well, we had kinda a thing with teachers back when we were around your age, while that made me feel old. You're far from old, they call you the young rising star after all. Izuku reminded him. That's because anyone else doing well in my field is old as dirt, Ren said dismissively. I swear with you and Futaba the age that people have to be successful decreases more and more. Actually, never mind, some people are successful out of the womb because they happen to get lucky. I get what you mean. But there's little that can be done about it. Izuku said, recalling Bakugo. We just need to help out the less fortunate, until they can become successful themselves. Cheers to that, Rin said. So do you have your eye on anyone for the chief and teacher roles? I do actually. People who no one would ever expect me to hire. Izuku explained. Former villains. Former villains, huh? Huh? Ren didn't seem all too fazed by that outrageous statement. I'm all for giving people a chance, but at the same time, you need to be certain they won't hurt the kids. Although I guess you already know that, which is why you haven't hired them yet. Pretty much. Izuku sighed. I have to hire people who the MLA couldn't possibly expect me to hire, as well as people so desperate that they're willing to get a psych probe. And these people fit my criteria. Once I get a psych probe on them, I'll know for sure if I can trust them. Even knowing that you're still hesitant to trust people. It's fine. Ren assured him. You've taken great strides when it comes to not doing everything yourself. But progress doesn't have to come all at once. Wait till you feel comfortable. But don't stall. Work towards improvement carefully and steadily. Right. Izuku nodded. Thank you. Ding. Ren took out his phone and saw that Futaba had texted him. Got the job. Gonna start right now. Pick me up later. Should have seen that coming. Ren shook his head with a fond smile on his face. Well, looks like my schedule suddenly cleared up. Wanna check out my cafe? Izuku thought about it for a second. I haven't left the grounds in a while, so sure. But only if it's a brief visit. Got it. Ren agreed as they both got in his care. While we're there, I can teach you how to make coffee. Thought you said that was a secret? Izuku asked as he buckled his seatbelt. Ren smirked. For you, I'll make an exception. Besides, you probably need it. Chapter 159, Project Sharp Wit. Chaos Energy. I always knew that quirks had to be powered by something, but never in my life did I think I would actually be able to work with it. Oh, the possibilities! Wait. Gotta start this offer properly. I'm an official employee now, so gotta do things properly. My name is Futaba Akira, and I'm in charge of studying cognitive matter here at the Midoriya Foundation's scientific branch. Now with the introductions done, on to the good stuff. Now back to chaos energy. From what we can tell, it seems that chaos energy is the source of power behind quirks. Of course, quirks are the thing that brought cognitive matter science into existence, so if we can master the power behind quirks, there's no doubt that I can make huge progress in my field. And by that I mean I already have. Hee. Now you may have heard of the former pro hero Saber, aka Saibura. Her quirk allows her to manifest any sword that she has seen from her own dimension. A dimension thought to be a manifestation of her own imagination. This means, of course, that the swords she shoots out are mental constructs. However, studying them is rather difficult. Her swords cannot exist in this dimension for long. This actually lines up with Mom's notes about cognitive matter only being able to exist in our dimension for a short time. But something was a bit off. The swords are able to exist in our reality far longer than what Mom's notes indicate. So of course my first task was figuring out why that was. And the answer revolved around chaos energy. When taking a closer look at the blade's molecular structure, I found something super interesting. Every single part of that blade, down to its atoms, was coated in chaos energy. However, it was quickly coming off the blade every second, and once all the chaos energy had vanished from the blade, poof! Gone. I think you can guess what's going on here. The chaos energy given off by Burura's quirk latches onto the blade, and anchors it into our reality, for as long as it can. However, because metal isn't very good at keeping chaos energy stuck to it, the energy comes off, and once it's finished, the blade goes back into the cognitive world. Actually, now that I think about it, her quirk might not even construct that cognitive dimension. It's possible that her quirk simply opens a portal to her cognitive space, and allows things to enter and persist in this world for a time. That's beyond cool. Unfortunately, that was all the information I could get for today. After all, Burura has a job, so she couldn't stick around here all day. But this gives me time to work on something for tomorrow. Science never rests. And neither will I. At least now that Morgana's not here to make me. Nee. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX I managed to get some more information about Buera's quirk via testing. I've confirmed that the energy the portals are made of is the same energy found in her blades. Just way more intense. Seems like, in smaller amounts, this energy can keep things tethered to our dimension, while higher quantities of energy can actually tear holes between the physical and cognitive worlds. Oh, I'm definitely gonna do something with this later. Oh ho ho, watch our dimensional barriers, here I come. But anyway, to wrap up this report, I figured out one more thing about Sai's quirk. Anything that goes through Sai's portals is irradiated with her chaos energy, basically allowing anything that traveled through dimensions to stay in that other dimension for a little bit. Good. Everything should go perfectly tomorrow. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Perfect. The Fractal Sword project was a complete success. That's right. I had the boss make a huge fractal in the shape of a sword, meaning that Sai could eject one out of her portals. And Wadia, it didn't disappear. Due to the fractal's ability to absorb and hold chaos energy, it was able to keep all the chaos energy from the portal and stay tethered to our world indefinitely. Meaning we now have a permanent source of Sai's spacebending, cognitive world-based chaos energy. And I know exactly what I'm going to do with it. For now, I'm putting a hold to Project Sharp Wit. Now it's time for Project Spatial Rend. Chapter 160, Down with the Sickness. Hello, my loyal minions. And welcome to another one of my great broadcasts. Keba shouted proudly into her camera as she started up her stream in the gaming room, with Nezu by her side. Today we have a special guest known, one of my newer siblings, Nezu. Hi everyone. Nezu introduced herself loudly with a forced smile. Doing as Keba instructed before the stream started. A guest. Nezu to meet ya. What a Nezu change of pace. What a Nezu girl. Okay, enough with the puns. It was Nezu while it lasted. And today the two of us will be playing Super Smash Bros. Keba said as the game screen took most of the screen, with the two girls being in the upper corner. Let's see which one of us can beat the other. Of course, since I have the advantage, I'll be giving Nezu here a little handicap. Nezu then held up two more controllers using her vectors. Wait, she's gonna play 3 characters. That sounds hard as hell. Is that really an advantage? Lady Keba's still gonna win. In truth, they weren't wrong about it being difficult. Trying to control and keep track of 3 characters on screen at the same time was difficult, and using the controllers with her vectors was also a bit difficult, seeing as her ability to control them was still kinda shaky. Still, she'd try for the content. As Lady Keba's new apprentice, she had to be bold. Now without any further ado, let's go! Keba shouted as she picked Ganondorf, one of her mains. Got it, Lady K. Nezu nodded as she picked her 3 characters. Her primary character would be Pyra/Mithra, with Kazuya and Incineroar as her secondaries. And with that, they were off to Final Destination. Kazuya was next to the left edge of the stage, with Ganondorf to her right, and then Pyra to the right of him, and Incineroar closest to the right edge of the stage. My money's on Keba. Same. I'm gonna bet on Nezu, just to support her. I think she can win. Keba's playing a slow character, and all 3 of Nezu's characters are super brain-dead powerhouses. She could just unga-bunga Keba to death. Keba's got this, hands down. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX off the side of the screen but pry a smash attack. Well, it's a good thing we didn't actually bet money, huh? No, Lady Keba. Damn it. Told ya so. The game had gone, ultimately rather poorly for Keba. Shirnice didn't have super good control over her other two characters, but she had enough control to get them to spam their strongest moves, while her main character fended Keba off. Of course, Keba had gotten a few KOs, even coming very close to finishing off Incineroar, but in the end, it just wasn't enough. Keba pouted as she looked at the results screen. Okay, from now on, you're only using two characters. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Meanwhile, Sheena was practicing her makeup, with Mina behind her, watching over her. Sheena set down her lipstick and took a look at herself. Still not nearly as good as Mina's work. Some of her boniness was still showing, and her wig wasn't on perfectly. Hey, that was a lot better than last time. You're getting close to perfecting it. Mina praised her. She could tell the girl was frustrated after hours of practice. So she had to make sure she didn't get disheartened. Sheena sighed. Ms. Mina, why am I so bad at everything? Besides singing. Well, that just kinda happens sometimes, Mina said, giving her a sympathetic look. Some people are just better at things than others naturally, and others aren't. Like me, for example, I may be good looking and have a nice quirk, but I'm dumb as a rock. But didn't you get into UA? UA? Sheena asked her curiously. Yup. Mina said proudly. Because with enough hard work, even someone with zero talent for something can still be good at it. That's why you have to keep trying. K. Sheena thought about Mina's words before her face hardened into a determined expression. Right. Thank you, Ms. Mina. Mina smiled and patted the girl on the head. No problem, Skull Girl. Now let's finish up here. I hear Mr. Midoriya's asked Jiro to help you with music. So we don't want to keep her waiting. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Nezu, Ken, Nara, aka Alice, and the Cerberus sisters. All of whom, including Izuku, were wearing training weights around their wrist and ankles. Of course, some were significantly heavier than others. "Alright everyone, it's time to go for a run," Izuku told them. "Ken, Nara, remember, you're not allowed to use your quirks." "What? Why just us?" Ken whined as he picked at his weights. "Because you two need to train your base forms, so you won't be sitting ducks whenever you're forced into them," Izuku explained, as he looked over the kids. "Now let's dash." Izuku stopped when he suddenly noticed something off. Keba was sweating. No, not just sweating, she actually looked to be struggling a bit with her weights. Now of course Keba's weights were extremely heavy, but for her, she shouldn't really be struggling with them. And was it just him, or did she look slightly paler than usual? "Keba, are you okay?" Izuku asked, immediately heading towards her before kneeling down and touching her forehead. It was hard to tell if she had a fever or not, given that Keba's normal body temperature was typically colder than normal. "Yeah, my stomach just hurts a bit," Keba said. Although she was downplaying quite a bit. Not only did her stomach feel like it was turning, but her head was pounding and she felt rather dizzy. Izuku frowned. "Alright, then you can just go lay down then." Keba shook his head. No. I'm fine, I can still run." "Watch." The pale girl then ran over to the side and tried to run in a circle. She got about halfway into her small circle, before she stopped, and blaff! Suddenly Keba fell to her knees and vomited up a pool of red bloody vomit. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX meds, looking much better than she did previously, but still a little out of it. Vera looked at some results from the tests she took. It seems like she has a terrible stomach bug. Nothing deadly, but it will make her rather upset in the tummy for a few weeks. However, due to her body's need to drink up blood, this may be a bit worse. She cannot drink as much blood as normal. If she tries, she throws it up. If she keeps throwing up blood, her condition could get much worse. So she'll have to only have a bit of blood, and not around too much to keep her body from using it all up. Izuku surmised, looking extremely worried. Is that right? Correct, Vera confirmed. But so long as she follows instructions, she will be fine. Ugh, hi. Are you saying I'll have to be weak for weeks, and stay inactive all the while? Keba groaned. That sounds like torture. Can't you use your quirk to fix me? Fixing disease is not as easy as fixing damage. Vera shook her head with a dismayed expression on her face. It is best to just get better, the normal way. Keba pouted. Fine. Will she still be able to go to the sports festival? Izuku asked, causing Keba's eyes to widen. So long as she takes some medicine, and doesn't move around too much, then yes, Vera explained. The sports festival. Keba gasped. Yeah, I got tickets from UA for us all to go to the sports festival, Izuku explained. So if you want to go, make sure you don't do what Vera told you to, so you don't get any worse. Keba nodded rapidly, before stopping because she was getting nauseous again. Ugh. Izuku sighed, he could feel another headache coming on real soon. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX on her bed, while Fu recorded her. Now this may come as a surprise for you all, but I've been attacked by a horrible foe, assaulting my stomach from within and hindering my power. She has a stomach bug, Fu explained in short. Oh no! Damn, even Lady Keba can get sick. Hope you get better soon. Stay strong, Lady K. Keba shook her head while putting on a big smile. Fear not, my followers. For this has done little but weaken me. While I may not be at my normal strength, nor will I be able to move as much as I'd like. But otherwise, I am unhindered. And will continue to bring you content from my bed. Yay! Lady K, don't push yourself. That's our Lady K. Are you sure that's okay? Don't worry, I'm sure her dad wouldn't let her do it if it was dangerous. While I know this news must distress you, I do have a positive surprise, Keba smirked. Despite my condition, I am still in good enough health to attend the UA Sports Festival. And not only that, I will be holding a meet and greet, as well as unveiling my new merchandise. Which I will be signing for one day only. We'll also be allowing pre-orders for our game, Fu added. Which will have a new trailer for soon. Wait, what? That's awesome. Gimme. Now I have to go. Give. Me. Now. Shut up and take my money. Please tell me there's a plush. Now then, please wait and look forward to that day, Keba told them. Until then, your queen must rest. Farewell. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX continuing to watch these streams was a good idea. Keba was going to be outside her home and weakened. It was almost as if some divine being was gifting him a chance. And he wouldn't let it go to waste. He'd give that brat a lesson she would never forget. XXX XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX finally, a chance to grab the spotlight. La Brava! Be prepared. 1 week from now, we will be attending the sports festival. Chapter 161, In with the Old. It wasn't easy being the principal of UA, wasn't easy, especially around the time of the sports festival. Just the amount of paperwork necessary for making sure the arena was up to par would drive a normal person insane. Hence why Nezu was still in his office so late at night working away with his pen. Oh, the burdens of being in charge. Nezu sighed. But, this is always worth it. The sports festival never fails to entertain. Watching my students head in with high hopes, only to get crushed by the unforgiving hand of reality, always lifts my spirits. Although it appears I'll have to look over my security, wouldn't you say, Giza? Behind Nezu was a man, or rather a large humanoid rat, wearing a big dark gray hooded robe. The man was slightly taller than average and was covered in dark brown fur, with some white spots around his face, as well as a long thin white beard at the bottom of his rat face. His arms and legs were the only not hairy parts of him, rather they were just exposed gray skin, although his arms were covered in bandages, while his feet were bare. HM. The man, Giza, chuckled. I would say so. It was disappointingly how easy to sneak past your defenses. I expected more from you, old friend. Well, unfortunately my budget can only allow so much without the shareholders getting antsy. Nezu sighed. If I had things my way, then UA would be a fortress in the sky with an electrified force field surrounding it. Perhaps that might be a bit much. Giza mused, stroking his beard, as he moved to the front of Nezu's desk. Putting that aside, I'm ashamed to say I need your assistance. About time, Nezu said with a tiny hint of smugness. I told you the foot were not foes to be taken lightly. Giza shook his head. Things have changed. They had another success. For the first time in a long time, Nezu's smile fell, and all cheer left his tone. Elaborate. Giza then took out a photo from his screen and put it down on Nezu's desk. The photo was of 4 baby humanoid turtles. This isn't good. I thought we'd have more time. Nezu started to sweat. Do not worry too much, my old friend, Giza assured him. They still have no idea how this success was achieved, much like with us. And I've already taken away the children and burned their research. They're not finding out the secrets of the use anytime soon. Good. Nezu breathed a sigh of relief. We still have time. Where are the children? I am currently hiding them deep, deep within the sewers, Giza answered. However, I don't know how long that place will be safe. That's why I came to you. I need somewhere safe. Somewhere fortified where even the foot wouldn't be able to touch them. I think I know a place, Nezu said. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX increased the security of the foundation quite a bit, but that wouldn't help when they went outside. Outside, not only did the kids not have their security system to hide behind, but they couldn't even use their quirks. Meaning their bodyguards were their only line of defense. And right now they only had two. Which meant one could go with them to keep the kids with them safe, and the other would have to stay here and keep the kids here safe. And Izuku didn't like the idea of only having one bodyguard guard that many children. Which is how Izuku ended up in a DOC office, doing interviews, with Sai by his side. He'd been through 5 people already, and none of them seemed right. Their backgrounds were too clean, suspiciously so. They all seemed too perfect and acted too polite. He needed someone unlikely, someone obviously imperfect. "Sir, the next person is here," Sai said, handing him that person's file. "Alright, let them in." Izuku sighed as he read over that person's file. With that, the next person came in. He was a very fit man, with slicked back gray hair, going into a thin ponytail going down his back. He wore a plain black sleeveless shirt that showed off his muscly arms, and a regular old pair of jeans. "Hello there, Mr. Midoriya." The man cheerily introduced himself. "It's a pleasure to meet you." "Same," Izuku said as politely as he could while only paying half attention due to him reading the file. "So your name is Tokoshi Todoyai. Age 85, correct?" "That's right. Here and ready to work," Tokoshi said stiffly, obviously not used to acting so overly polite. "And your quirk is called, Power Comes with Age," Izuku said as he read the file. "It makes you stronger as you get older. You must be pretty strong at this point." "You got that right, sir," Tokoshi said as he flexed his muscles. "I could flip a truck if you needed me to, sir." "Well, at least he's strong," Izuku noted, as he continued looking over the file, until he found something interesting, and his eyes widened. "It says here that you were arrested twice. One for participating in an underground fighting ring, and the other for vigilantism." Tokoshi winced. Yeah, that, did happen. You see, I've always felt the need to fight against evil, but I was pretty weak when I was younger, so I couldn't really become a hero, and by the time I started to get strong it was too late, so decided to train by doing those underground fights, got arrested, was released, became a vigilante, got caught, and well, you can guess the rest, but on the bright side I do have combat experience. "I see. Izuku put down the folder and started paying more attention to the man. "And why do you want to work for the Midoriya Foundation? You said earlier that you wanted to fight against evil, is that your reason?" "It's, one of them." The man rubbed the back of his head nervously. "To be honest with you, sir, I have 3 reasons. What I just mentioned was one of them, but the main reason is because my grandson has gotten sick, and his treatment is rather expensive. So as his grandpa, I need to do what I can to make sure he stays alive. And, given my record, finding a job can be pretty hard." "I see," Izuku repeated. So far everything about this man made him want to hire him. But he had to be careful still. "And what was the last reason?" "Because I've always wanted to be a combat butler," the man admitted sheepishly. "They've just always been so cool. And I'd look great in one of those suits." "Sir." Well, Izuku certainly wasn't expecting that answer, even Sai raised an eyebrow at that. "Interesting," Izuku remarked. Well, he definitely was more appealing than all the other candidates. But there was still one more thing. "Well, that's all well and good, and I have to say, despite your record, I guess because of it I am interested in hiring you. Not only that, I'm fully willing to pay for your grandson's treatment." The man's face lit up like a Christmas tree. That's dash. "On one condition," Izuku added sternly. I've been very paranoid about potential spies or assassins trying to get close to me and the kids by becoming employees. To get around this issue, I've been having any and all potential employees take a mental probe. If you're not willing to do this, then I'm not sure I can hire you. I'll do it. Tokoshi quickly volunteered. I'll be more than glad to do that for you, sir. I have nothing to hide, well, nothing important anyway. Izuku smiled. Good. Well then, you're hired. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX your hire had depleted. By the end, Izuku was driving back with a dismayed look on his face. Sai, what do you think of most of those candidates? Half of them could be spies, the other half not so sure. Sai shook her head. Either way, I'd say that the only safe one was that Totoyai-man. Izuku sighed. I need more than 3 bodyguards. Ugh, if only I could find bodyguards like I could find children. Brrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr. Izuku released another sigh as he pulled out his phone. This better not be, oh, it's Nezu. Wonder what he wants. He swiftly answered, and held the phone to his ear. Nezu, did you need dash? I'm sorry to cut you off, Mr. Midoriya, but I have a matter of the utmost importance to speak of with you, Nezu told him urgently. I apologize for my rudeness, but I'm already headed towards your facility with a guest, please allow us in. I assure you my guests will do you no harm. Alright, Izuku answered. I'm not home right now, but I'll be there soon. We'll meet in my office. Understood, thank you Mr. Midoriya, Nezu said, before hanging up. What was that about, sir? Sai asked. I have no idea, Izuku answered with a scowl on his face. But we're going to find out. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Izuku arrived at his house in no time and immediately made his way toward his office. When he entered, he found Chol seated on one of his couches, while Nezu and Giza sat on the opposite couch. Giza carrying the 4 humanoid baby turtles in his arm. Hello, Mr. Midoriya. Nezu greeted, sounding much calmer than before. Mr. Midoriya, thank you for allowing us your home, Giza said politely, giving a small bow. My name is Giza, it is an honor to meet you. Same to you, Izuku said quickly but politely, as he took his seat next to Chol. Now then, what brings you two here? Yes, I suppose it'd be better to explain as soon as possible, Nezu said, before looking at Sai and Chol. However, I would ask that your attendants leave the room. What I'm about to share with you is a secret, I would rather as few people know as possible. Izuku thought about it for a moment, before looking over at Chol and Sai. Could you two please give us some privacy? Sai bowed, and Chol got up. Yes, sir. And with that, the two swiftly exited the room, leaving Izuku alone with his guests. Now that they were gone, Izuku's attention was completely on the 6 in front of him. Nezu, what's this about? I've never heard you sound so worried before. Most people haven't, Nezu told him. But this relates to something that's rather personal to me. My creation. Izuku froze. He knew that this was dire before just from Nezu's tone, but for the situation to call for him to explain his history, something he'd been very secretive about, and had even gone so far as to openly threaten people who try to snoop too much. This must be direr than he thought. Allow me to explain. Giza started. A long time ago, the Yakuza was a powerful, rich, and seemingly invincible criminal organization that sane man would dare oppose. That was until quirks came into existence. With a quirk, one man could take on 100, unarmed even, and there was little that the Yakuza could do in the face of swarms of superpowered vigilantes. Most tried to stubbornly fight against them, using all their power, influence, and wealth to try and survive, but to no avail. And so the Yakuza was shattered into many splinter groups, one of which would go on to be group dealt with. Most of these groups would be dismantled in time, however, there was one group that was different from the rest. This group saw the fall of the Yakuza coming, and rather than attempting to fight back, they took their wealth and vanished. They would later go on to call themselves the Foot. Nezu continued. This group knew the value of quirks and knew that the only way to regain their full power was to master quirks. To find a way to control quirks and those who wield them, and so they poured much of their wealth into finding out the secrets of quirks and how to bestow them onto their minions and themselves. They searched for years, doing tests on animals and humans alike, Giza said. Until eventually, they created a liquid known as mutagen or the ooze. This liquid would cause a mutation in whoever it came into contact with, similar to giving them a quirk. Although most did not survive the process and would either die or lose their minds soon after touching it. But rarely, very rarely, there would be someone who would survive the process and gain new quirks. Me and Nezu are such examples. We were animals, exposed to mutagen, and thus we gained a beyond human level intelligence, Nezu explained. As such, we were kept and studied. We lived in small cages, and every day we would go through some sort of agonizing experiment. From having our blood extracted from our bodies to being opened up and stitched back together. Our time there was unpleasant to say the least. Fortunately, I eventually managed to come up with a plan, and with the help of the others, we managed not only to escape but destroy both the facility and the people who worked there. However, that was only one of many of the Foot's facilities, Giza added. In the end, we knew it would take far more to put an end to the Foot. However, had different thoughts on how best to handle this situation. Giza wished to attack the Foot immediately, while I wanted to amass power and influence, and then attack them, Nezu explained. This was why I became a pro-hero. As well as to make sure other organizations like the Foot would be destroyed. And so we parted ways, Giza said. I attacked various Foot facilities, destroying their research, as well taking care of their men. However, recently I have stumbled upon these four. Another success in their experiments. And thus things became more complicated. So you came to me to ask me to hide you 5 on my property, Izuku said, seeing where the story was going. That is correct, Mr. Midoriya, Nezu confirmed. I apologize for asking you to become a target for yet another criminal organization, but seeing as you're already increasing your security due to the MLA, you were the only person I could trust to keep them safe, and not do anything dubious. I see. Izuku thought this over. Well, protecting children is the entire point of my job, so I'm not going to back down now. Thank you, Mr. Midoriya, we are in your debt. Giza did another short bow to him. Please feel free to ask whatever you may need of me. Giza is second to none in combat skills. I think you'd find him a fantastic combat instructor for the children, Nezu suggested. Or as a bodyguard. That's perfect, I needed another one of those. Izuku breathed a sigh of relief. Well, then, welcome to the Midoriya Foundation. Chapter 162, Bodyguard Brawl. Maybe I should build some kind of arena. Izuku thought as he stood outside, with all 4 of his bodyguards in front of him. In front of the bodyguards were the Cerberus sisters, who had come upon Izuku's request. And lastly behind Izuku was Shina, who had also come due at Izuku's request. After reaching an opening in the woods, they stooped. Alright, here looks good, Izuku said, stopping everyone. What looks good, sir? Tokoshi asked, adjusting the tie on his new butler suit. Shoom, shoom. Izuku suddenly launched himself towards them, at astonishing speeds. He rushed past the bodyguards so fast that most of them couldn't react, and almost grabbed G. Until Giza launched himself at G at the last minute and pushed her out of the way. Izuku missed G, but he suddenly moved mid-air toward Inu, who was right next to him. His hand almost reached here, but suddenly 2 swords appeared on either side of him, blocking him from both Inu and Yaba. What the heck? Yaba squawked as suddenly she was carried away, because Sai sent a sword flying through her collar, getting her away from Izuku. At that same moment, Sai opened portals around Izuku, and dropped swords all around him, trapping him in a cage of swords. Wait, what the hell is happening? Sori asked, looking extremely confused. Mr. Midoriya is testing us using his repel quirk he got from Miss Shina, keep him away from the kids. Sai quickly explained to everyone. Correct. Izuku said as he repelled all the swords away from him, causing the swords on top of him to fly up into the air, and the swords surrounding him shattered, and their pieces flew all over the place. Now show me that you can protect my children. Izuku repelled himself upwards, then towards Ji, flying through the air toward his sister at an alarming speed. Sori moved faster, rushing towards Ji, and grabbing her before Izuku could get close, before running away. Izuku then moved towards the next closest girl, Yaba, and flew towards her. However, Tokoshi was closer, and he managed to jump in front of Yaba before he got to her. Izuku continued towards her, and when he got close, he tried to repel Tokoshi out of the way. Grrrrrrr. Tokoshi grit his teeth, as he felt an overwhelmingly strong force trying to push him back. For a second he actually slid back a few inches, but he managed to dig his heels into the ground and stop himself, before he started pushing forward, against Izuku's quirk. Izuku's eyes widened when he saw this, and stopped himself mid-air, before bringing himself upwards, and over Tokoshi, then using his repel again. While Tokoshi was strong enough to resist his repel, the ground was not, and Tokoshi was forced down into the ground like a drill, boring deeper and deeper into the earth, creating a pretty deep hole. But before Izuku could use this opportunity to go at Yaba, Sori had already grabbed her along with the others and started fleeing into the woods, towards the house. Even with my repel, she's still faster than me. But unlike her, I don't need to move around the trees. Izuku flew forward, following Sori, using his temporary quirk to repel any trees in his way away, causing them to either fall over, or get smashed to pieces as Izuku sped forward without issue. It didn't take long for Izuku to catch up to Sori. Due to the girls in her arms, she couldn't move as fast as she normally could, nor was she as agile, so she actually had to move around the trees. Crap. The boss is gonna catch up to me at this rate. Gotta think of something. Sori thought to herself. Then, she dug her foot into the ground with her next step and kicked up a massive dirt cloud at Izuku. Izuku immediately repelled the dust cloud. However, in that split second when his vision was blocked, Sori had vanished. Smart move, Izuku thought. She must have hidden somewhere nearby. Izuku then plopped onto the ground, took a look around, and then activated his quirk. Shoom. Suddenly everything around Izuku flew away: trees, rocks, leaves, blades of grass, everything, turning the area into a patch of dirt. Sori was revealed, hiding in the leaves of one of the fallen trees, which were blown away along with the tree, leaving her and the girls exposed. Shit, Sori swore, before she immediately started running. However, Izuku used his repel quirk on her, causing her to trip and fall, dropping the girls in front of her. Just as Izuku was about to zoom toward the girls, he saw portals circularly open above the girls, but he also felt his Aegis robe, armor up on his left side. Izuku then repelled a sword that was about to hit him, causing it to fly away, and at the same time, a cage of swords formed around the girls and Sori. Sai then came in, riding a rocket sword over to them, before jumping off it to keep her distance from Izuku, before then opening a bunch of portals around Izuku, and unleashing swords rapid fire on Izuku. This actually managed to stop Izuku, as he was forced to stand still, and repel all the swords coming at him. But then he turned up his quirk to max power. All the swords that were repelled went flying in every direction, raining down on the land like deadly rain. Sai saw some of the swords flying at her and was forced to open up a few portals around her and shoot out more swords to shoot down the swords coming at her. But now she was sweating. Having to open up all these portals was starting to take a toll on her vitality, and distracted her for just a moment. With that, Izuku took a deep breath and then used his quirk on all the air around him. Shoom. A dome of air expanded away from Izuku, encompassing everything around him like a massive blast. Ack! Sai was blown away with all of her swords, sent flying back into the woods, and causing all the portals to vanish. Immediately, Izuku turned towards the cage of swords and saw that Sori and the girls were no longer there, and the back of the cage had been smashed apart. Then Izuku felt his robe tense up completely, armoring him and cutting off his line of sight. Oh! Izuku repelled himself away from that spot, just in time as Tokoshi came crashing down to the ground, creating a massive shockwave. Gah! Izuku was blown back by the shock wave. He hadn't expected it, so he couldn't repel it, but fortunately, his robe diminished most of the damage. Izuku tumbled across the ground for a second, before using his quirk to reel in himself back to his feet. "Forgive me, sir," Tokoshi said, as he rushed towards Izuku to punch him. Izuku just flew into the air, got over Tokoshi, and repelled him into the ground once again. With that done, Izuku looked over to the area where the kids had been. At this rate, they're likely far enough away that I won't be able to find them before Shina's quirk wears off. Guess I'll call it quits for now. Alright, that's enough. Izuku shouted. The exercise is over. I have to say, I didn't expect you to be the type of person to give this kind of test. Izuku turned around and saw that Giza had snuck up behind him. I'm guessing you're the one that hid the kids? That is correct, Giza confirmed while stroking his beard. Approaching you directly was a futile effort, and it was not our objective. I find that doing unnecessary things during combat is what often leads to defeat. True enough, I guess. Izuku agreed, before looking around. Where are the girls, by the way? They will come out when your quirk is no longer present, Giza explained. In about 30 seconds. I don't think you'd want us to just let the children go around our enemies just because they say they surrender, would you? That wasn't part of the test, but good thinking. Izuku praised. Now thanks to this test, I think I have a good idea of who I should take to the sports festival with me. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Smash. Rag. Redestro shouted as he threw yet another desk against the wall of his apartment. That damn Midoriya. All of his undercover agents had been rejected by the Midoriya Foundation, meaning he was still no closer to killing Izuku Midoriya. The worst part is he had no idea how to even get an agent into the foundation because their hiring processes seem to be fucking random. At this point, most of his allies say that he's just wasting his time, but he refused to let Midoriya live. Izuku Midoriya was an insult to everything he and his ancestors stood for, and must be dealt with. Growling. I have to kill him at the sports festival. Redestro growled as he tried to calm himself. It's the only time when I know he'll be leaving that fortress he calls a home. I was thinking the same thing, said an unknown female voice behind him. Redestro immediately activated his quirk, growing his arm to 10 times the size, before swinging behind him at whoever had snuck up on him. But he hit nothing but air. You have nothing to fear, Redestro. If I wanted you dead, you would simply be dead, said the voice, coming from behind him again. Redestro growled, and turned around, to see who the mysterious intruder was. It was a young woman, covered head to toe in black garb, with some dark gray metal armor covering her chest and legs. Her face was covered by a black mask, revealing only her bright green eyes. I apologize, you caught me in a bad mood, Redestro said, glaring at the woman and keeping his quirk active. Now if you could explain to me who you are, how you got here, and how you know that name, I might allow you to live. My name is Karai, and I come with an offer. The woman explained. Tell me, have you ever heard of the Foot Clan? Redestro glared at her even harsher. The Foot Clan? They're a mere myth. It's good to hear you say that. We prefer to keep a low profile for the time being, Karai said. But we are very, very real. And we would like to collaborate with you in your efforts to kill Midoriya Izuku at the sports festival. Chapter 163, Preparations. All for One smiled as he looked up at the TV, with both Redestro and Karai both on call. Well, the Foot Clan, what a surprise. You knew of their existence? Redestro asked, not liking how he was the only one that had been in the dark. All for One scoffed. One does not live as a criminal mastermind for several hundred years, and not know of the Foot Clan. Good, then we can get to the point, Karai said. We are planning to attack the UA Stadium on the day of the sports festival, and we'd like to ask for your cooperation. Oh? All for One smirked. Seemed like things were going to be more amusing than he thought. That's a rather daring move. Let me guess, it's about the Midoriya Foundation? You would be correct, Karai confirmed. The Midoriya Foundation currently has something that belongs to the Foot Clan. And you already know what issue the MLA has with them. Yes, I'm well aware. All for One said. But what would motivate me to join your attack? I would appreciate it if you did not waste time playing coy. Karai scolded. We all know that you would love to get your hands on the Midoriya family's quirks. Heh, yes, I suppose that was obvious. All for One chuckled. But still, that is a rather risky operation. The sports festival is going to be attended by hundreds of heroes, including All Might and Endeavor. Not to mention all the heroes that are going to be watching it from elsewhere. It won't be a stretch to say that reinforcements will come pretty much instantly, and in numbers, we could not hope to fight off. And it would almost guarantee that all three of us would be exposed to the world afterward. True, but when one is focused so thoroughly on one thing, they tend to be rather ignorant to everything else, Karai explained. With most of the heroes focused on the sports festival, it will be easier for criminals to get away with unsavory acts. Something we've already pointed out to the many gangs and wannabe criminals, itching for a chance to prove themselves a threat. Interesting, but do you really think an army of low-rank villains will attract attention away from the sports festival? All for One asked. Even the lower-rank heroes dispatch of them in droves. It will cause chaos, but nearly enough. Indeed, but the villains are there to keep the heroes' attention, not attract it, Karai said. That's what the bombs are for. Regardless of their power and skill, rescue and damage control takes time. Add all those lowly villains to mix, and the heroes will have their hands quite full. Even more so if you would be so kind as to lend some of your Nomu to the mix. We'll see, so what's your plan for the attack on the actual festival? All for One asked. After many of the heroes are distracted, we will activate the E.M.P.S around the city, meaning no one will be able to tell what's happening, and people won't know the arena is being attacked, Karai explained. Then, that's when we infiltrate the arena, and quickly go after our targets, overwhelming them with numbers, completing our missions, and getting out before they can counterattack. All for One thought about it for a moment. Alright, I'm in. I think I can offer some very useful tools to your operation, like Kirogiri, and something we've been preparing for a while. I can't think of a better time to use Starro. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX He walked through the halls of the laboratory, moving past several staff bots. The staff bots were made by Dr. Hikari to do all the menial tasks that scientists couldn't be bothered to do, and that they didn't want to hire people to do. They had the upper half of a robotic human, while their wide lower halves moved with 2 wheels. Izuku moved towards Mai's office, before letting himself in. "Jikin, is it ready yet?" "Just about. Me and Dr. Hikari worked around the clock on it." Mai explained as she pulled up a large briefcase, around half the size of her body. "Oof, it's a bit heavy though." "Well, that's to be expected considering what I asked for," Izuku said, and he took the briefcase. It was a bit heavy, thankfully he worked out so he could carry it with little difficulty. "About that, sir, are you sure this is okay?" Mai asked with an extremely uneasy expression. "This weapon is kinda cruel. It could ruin a person's life in more ways than one." "I'm aware." Izuku sighed, looking down at the case with a heavy expression. "I really don't want to use this. But if I have to, that means my children are in danger. And if that's the case, I can't afford to hold back. They will regret trying to darken my children's futures. I mean, if you're using it on child-killing scum, I guess I can't feel too bad for them," Mai said, although her uneasy expression contradicted her words. "It's fine to feel bad for them, just not to the point where we let them get their way," Izuku told her with a sigh. "But, anyway, the other briefcase?" Right. Sir." Mai went under her desk and grabbed the other briefcase. This one was smaller, but still pretty big. "Sir, are you sure about this? If this briefcase falls into the wrong hands, the results could be catastrophic." "I know. But I have to take every precaution I can," Izuku said as he took the other briefcase. "Sir, I hate to sound like I'm going against you after everything you've done for me, but you're just going to the sports festival," Mai pointed out with an apologetic tone. "Isn't it already safe enough?" Izuku sighed and put down the briefcases before looking Mai straight in the eye. "I was on my front lawn, miles away from the city, surrounded by grim-infested forest. All Might and Eraserhead were literally right in front of me, along with my two extremely powerful bodyguards and the entirety of Class 1A. And yet despite all that, the villain managed to break into my house, fight All Might, Eraserhead, my bodyguards, and the army of Grimm to a standstill, get the advantage over Class 1A, and if it weren't for my children stepping in, we could have lost that whole battle. My son had his hand burnt off. Nara had a hole put in her chest, Ken was put into critical condition, and Keba almost murdered several people, including her own friends. Do you understand my position a little better now?" Mai cringed and looked away in shame. "Sorry, sir." "No need to apologize, I understand I'm being paranoid to an extent," Izuku admitted. "But if that paranoia keeps my children safe, then I'll do what I must." "I understand, sir, I trust you know what you're doing," Mai said as she bowed to her boss. "I told you it's fine. It's actually a good thing that you're questioning me. It lets me know you have integrity." Izuku smiled. "I'm glad I put you in charge of this division." Mai smiled back. "Thank you, sir. That will be it for this part. I hope everyone enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and comment if you want part 30. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe. I hope to see you all in the next one.